Hello and welcome back. I'm now within my personal instance of Claude, and here I've prepared a demonstration earlier on. I attached 3 PDFs of my bank statements, and here the prompt is, act as my personal budgeting helper. I'll give you a 3-month export of my current account and credit card transactions. Using only that file, please group each payment into sensible budget categories, e.g. housing, groceries, travel. Flag any items that look ad hoc, seasonal or yearly and list them separately. Show what percentage of my total spending each category represents. Present the results in a clear table I can copy into a spreadsheet. Finish with a short note explaining how I can turn these figures into a zero-based budget, where every pound already in my account is given a specific job before I spend it. Important constraints: don't connect to any bank or external service, work only with the data I provide, and all amounts are in pounds sterling. So I fired that off, and you'll see that with Claude Sonnet 4, it takes its time to actually think through this and work through it step by step. So it tells me that it's seen it, and then it goes through a process of analysing the data and then processing it. And it takes quite a few steps to get that done. So this took a few moments before it was actually ready. And then what happened was it prepared a document for me, the Personal Budget Analysis 3-month review. Now, because I've made anonymous some of the details in it, I've copied and pasted the results into a Google Doc, which I'll just walk you through now. So from that prompt, we have this personal budget analysis based on the statements I provided, which were from December 2024 to April 2025. And what it did was it identified against these categories here, which are all very sensible, a total amount that was spent across the 3 months. And then it worked out that monthly average for each category for me. And helpfully, it also labelled out the percentages, which I've left in here for comparison to you so you can see. And that all adds up to a total of 100%. So it's already working in this idea that anything left over goes into your donations pot there. As requested, it pulled out some seasonal or ad hoc items. So it knew, because they weren't happening every single month, that's why. So for example, in December, there was Christmas shopping, there was a trip that was booked, there was some software, etc. It also looks at my typical spend and some of these more ad hoc amounts and then recommended what it calls some sinking funds. So for example, it's suggesting that we could save monthly for travel, monthly for an emergency fund, and then monthly for seasonal purchases like Christmas, so that you have that amount at the end of the year ready. And therefore, it now comes down to its section where it's saying the zero-based budget framework recommendations, and it gives you the monthly income that it sees you getting and then allocates that out across different categories, like, for example, essential expenses, important expenses, lifestyle, etc. So this was really helpful. It gave me real figures that made sense for my scenario. And then again at the bottom here, it said zero-based budget principle. Every pound should have a job. And it's advising that I, at the start of each month, allocate my income across these categories for these amounts. It tells me that I should track my spending, adjust the categories as needed, but ensure that my total allocation doesn't exceed my income, which clearly is sensible. And then to build up to having these funds to handle the expenses without derailing my budget. And it also gave me some key insights. It said that housing represents my largest expense, which obviously you'd expect. That shopping accounts for a quarter of my spend. It's pointed out that I have healthy charitable giving habits, subscription services, total a certain amount, and it's saying that I could consider reviewing them. Essential expenses representing 45% of my spending, regularly monthly baseline expenses. So it gives me a total amount there. So this is really, really helpful. It also generated that in a format for me that I could just drop straight into a CSV file if I want to start recording this. So that made me think, how does my percentage split compare to an average person? So that was the prompt that I put in next. And again, just with a little bit of privacy preservation, the output I've copied into here. And this was really helpful. So that very simple question has given me an awful lot of insight. So it says my budget versus UK average and recommended guidelines. So it's saying here, housing, mine is 28%, whereas the UK average has a big range between 19 right up to 61%. So it's saying that mine is better than average, which is great. Groceries, it's saying I'm typical. Transport, obviously the beauty of living in a small place tends to be cheaper. So yes, it's better than the UK average. And it goes down and works out all these things for us. And it's also introducing this column here about the recommended 50-30-20 rule and where we're at against that. So that was really helpful comparison table that you could keep up to date, maybe on a quarterly basis. And it comes down into detailed analysis for us. So obviously it's saying that the housing side of things is good, whereas our shopping needs attention. It's saying that that's our biggest opportunity for savings. Again, it's saying our transport's excellent, not to worry. It's saying our food and our spending on dining is good, below average. And my subscription spend is a typical level there. So it comes down and gives you even more insight below where it says where we're ahead of the curve and the areas that we have for potential improvement. So it's saying here that we have opportunities to save more. And it's saying that our savings rate isn't as high as it could be because our wants category is higher than it probably should be. So seeing it laid out like this does actually make you think, actually, yes, I could make that better. And the comparison to the rule, my current split and then my recommended split. So it's saying that we're very close. We're only 5% over and slightly under there. So there aren't much adjustments needed for us to be better with our financial budgeting. So it comes up with a detailed action plan for me here based on these comparisons. And it's giving me specific target amounts to work towards. So it's saying reduce shopping by X amount, review my subscriptions list and cancel unused ones. And it's recommending I could probably save a certain amount. And then that would allow me to boost my savings rate. It's telling me where my advantages lie. So again, to sort of think about your life decisions when you're making any big changes, think about the things that you're already doing well and what impact that might have. And then it's saying that I'm doing better than average in certain essential categories. So that's brilliant. I know that I'm on track there, but it's given me some real specifics about where I can make a difference. For example, I know that I'm not saving enough money and certainly not putting enough into my pension at the moment. So these detailed analysis and getting into the habit of checking it every month would be really helpful for that. And again, it's just saying that the 50-30-20 rule originated in the United States. And that's a really important point. So I think it was nice that it included this at the bottom here. It can be challenging in the UK because typically we have higher housing costs, higher food costs, and different taxation structures. So it's saying that my budget, as it is actually more realistic than the textbook. But that's a nice little disclaimer at the end there. So you may find that the details that you get given have some context setting there, like mine did. So Claude, really helpfully with that information that I uploaded, has given me some really actionable insights from that. And yeah, we can think about how we embed that as a process, and is there anything that we need to be worried about in terms of how accurate this information is in the next module. Thank you.